Good evening, I'm Faye Kwan. Here are our top stories for tonight. Thailand's ruling party moves to dissolve parliament as the opposition throws its support behind a rival candidate for prime minister. And in China, Xi Jinping delivers a warning to the world at a grand military parade in Beijing. That and more coming up on AWANI International. Thailand's acting prime minister has moved to dissolve parliament after the largest opposition group backed a rival candidate for prime minister. The move could set the stage for new elections before the end of the year, just 2 years after the last vote in May 2023. A power vacuum has gripped Thailand's top office since Friday, when Prime Minister Paetongtarn Shinawatra was removed by the Constitutional Court over an ethics violation. Her party, Pheu Thai, was still acting in a caretaker role and had hoped to get support from the opposition People's Party for a new candidate. But the People's Party, which controls nearly a third of lower house seats, said it will back Tycoon Anutin Chanvirakul, leader of the Bumchaya Thai party. Soon after, Pheu Thai's Secretary General confirmed that acting Prime Minister Phumtham Wechayachai had submitted a decree to dissolve the House. Under the Constitution, if the King approves, elections would have to take place within 45 to 60 days. The People's Party said it will only back Anutin if the House is dissolved within 4 months, meaning his rise could still trigger new elections, just on a slightly later timeline. Chinese President Xi Jinping says the world faces a choice between peace and war as he presides over China's largest military parade in Tiananmen Square. The 70-minute display featured laser weapons, AI-powered drones, and a new nuclear ballistic missiles, showcasing China's growing military strength. Xi was joined by 26 heads of state, including Russia's Vladimir Putin and North Korea's Kim Jong-un, the first time the three leaders have met in public together. Addressing more than 50,000 spectators, Xi said humanity must choose peace or war, dialogue or confrontation, win-win or zero-sum, adding that China is never intimidated by any bullies, in an apparent veiled reference to the US and its allies. Meanwhile, US President Donald Trump took to social media to dismiss the parade as a challenge, accusing Xi of conspiring with Putin and Kim against the United States. During the visit, Putin announced expanded energy cooperation, with Russia pledging to support to help China advance in nuclear power. Kim, attending his first multilateral event, became the first North Korean leader to join a Chinese parade in 66 years. Malaysia does not see the need to join the Shanghai Cooperation Organization at this stage. Foreign Minister Datuk Sri Muhammad Hassan says Malaysia should focus on strengthening ASEAN while expanding engagement with the SCO.
He added that Prime Minister Datuk Sri Anwar Ibrahim attended the forum in Beijing as a special guest, and the government currently does not see any requirement for Malaysia to become an SCO member state. The SCO, formed in 2001, is seen as an alternative power structure to most US-led international institutions, promoting cooperation in politics, economy, security, and technology, among others. Its 10 members are China, Russia, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan, Uzbekistan, India, Pakistan, Iran, and Belarus.
We'll be back with more after the break. Stay tuned.
Di dalam setiap berita yang dibawa, konteks amat penting. Kami sentiasa membawakan yang tergempar dan terkini. Pastikan Astro AWANI menjadi pilihan anda, tidak kira di mana sahaja anda berada.
Welcome back. French President Emmanuel Macron calls the United States' decision to deny visas to Palestinian officials for the upcoming United Nations General Assembly in New York unacceptable. He stresses that Palestinian participation is essential to advancing the two-state solution.
Macron made the remarks after speaking with the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia, with whom he will co-chair the conference on the two-state solution in New York on September 22nd. He said the aim was to build the widest possible international support for a two-state solution, which he described as the only way to address the legitimate aspirations of both Israelis and Palestinians. Macron also said that no offensive action, annexation attempt, or forced displacement would undermine the momentum he and the Crown Prince had generated, which he said many international partners had already joined. Washington announced last week that Palestinian Authority President Mahmoud Abbas and other officials would not be allowed to travel to New York. Several U.S. allies are expected to recognize Palestine as a state at the assembly.
A U.S. congressional committee has released tens of thousands of documents from the federal investigation into late sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. But lawmakers from both parties say the files reveal little beyond what's already public, and it remains unclear whether the Justice Department is still withholding other records.
The committee published more than 33,000 pages of files and at least 8 videos, some dating back to 2005 and 2006. Among them, police interviews with victims describing payments for sex under the guise of massages. Other records include audio from a Florida investigation with victim details redacted. 2 additional hours of footage from the night of Epstein's death were also made public. Pressure has been mounting from Republicans, including allies of Donald Trump, for greater transparency around the Epstein case. Lawmakers have also subpoenaed the Justice Department and Epstein's estate for more records and are demanding testimony from his convicted accomplice, Ghislaine Maxwell.
The U.S. Federal Appeals Court has blocked President Donald Trump from using an 18th century wartime law to deport a group of Venezuelans. The court rejected the administration's argument that the migrants were part of a so-called invasion of the U.S.
Well, thank you very much.
Trump's government had claimed the group included members of a violent Venezuelan gang. In March, the president issued a proclamation to invoke the Alien Enemies Act of 1798, which allows the removal of foreign nationals during an invasion or predatory incursion. The court ruled late Tuesday that the law did not apply to this case. The Alien Enemies Act has only been used 3 times before, all during wartime. The case now appears set to return to the Supreme Court. Meanwhile, Brazil's Supreme Court has vowed not to bend to pressure from Washington as it decides the fate of far-right former President Jair Bolsonaro, a close ally of U.S. President Donald Trump. Bolsonaro, who governed from 2019 to 2023, is accused of masterminding a failed power grab after losing the 2022 election to Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva.
The trial, in which Bolsonaro claimed to be the victim of political persecution, has soured relations with Washington. Trump's administration had imposed a 50% tariff on some Brazilian exports, sanctioned presiding judge Alexander de Moraes, and revoked U.S. visas for other justices and officials of Lula. Moraes said the court would not submit to internal or external threats, reaffirming its commitment to defending Brazil's sovereignty. The 70-year-old Bolsonaro faces up to 43 years in prison if convicted. He and 7 co-accused, including former ministers and generals, are expected to learn their verdict by September 12th.
The European Commission has formally presented its trade deal with South America's Mercosur bloc for approval, in hopes to offset losses from U.S. President Donald Trump's tariffs and reduce reliance on China. However, the deal faces strong opposition from European farmers and several key EU countries, raising questions over its approval.
France, Italy, and Poland have voiced concerns that the deal could flood the market with cheap agricultural products that do not meet EU green and food safety standards. France, in particular, has said it will only approve the agreement if it safeguards national and EU agricultural interests. Together, the 3 countries could block the deal. Proponents of the deal, including Germany and Spain, argue the deal could save EU exporters 4 billion euros annually, open markets for cars, machinery, and chemicals, and secure duty-free trade in critical minerals like lithium needed for the green transition. The agreement involving Argentina, Brazil, Paraguay, and Uruguay was finalized last December after 25 years of negotiations. It would eliminate import duties on 91% of EU exports to Mercosur countries and 92% of Mercosur exports to the EU, making it the EU's largest trade deal in terms of tariff reductions.
Climate advocacy takes center stage on day 2 of UNICEF's ASEAN Children and Youth Climate Summit. Reporting from Langkawi, here's our correspondent Farhana Sheikh.
It's day 2 here at the UNICEF's ASEAN Children and Youth Climate Summit, and we began the day on a boat for a tour of the Kilim Kas Geoforest Park to learn more about the unique mangrove ecosystem and its rich biodiversity, from fossil fuels to wildlife and more. But don't just take it from me, let's hear from one of the participants.
I thought it would be like it would be just the mangroves and stuff, but actually going into it, we have seen like the monkeys and also the eagles and a lot of creatures having fun on their own, and their habit. It's like their natural habitat, and so it's really nice to learn about their nature, because the tour guide has also explained us about how they behave normally in nature, and also the fact that like we can reduce the risks of natural disasters such as storms, floods, and tsunamis just by having mangroves in the coastal regions. It really inspired me to like advocate more for the preservation of the rainforest and the mangroves. And now that we have joined this ACYCS 2025, we're inspired by the other delegates from ASEAN countries, like how they are handling climate affairs in their countries, how are they advocating for better changes, how are they spreading awareness in their countries, how are they taking part in like policy making and stuff. So it really inspires me and motivates me to work harder for my country and preserve the nature, and also like for the betterment of livelihood for our citizens in Myanmar.
After the trip, the participants joined a series of workshops. I myself had the privilege of conducting one workshop on the role of media in climate action. Others explore various topics from mental health in reducing climate anxieties, disaster risk reduction, as well as indigenous knowledge and more. So let's hear from one of the participants what he has to say.
Workshop that I joined just now is actually run by Astro AWANI itself. It's called From Hashtag to Headlines, telling climate stories to people. And the things that I love about this workshop is that we learn about the media and about all the platform of media and the audience that we targeted. Not in this generation, there's a lot of platforms and a lot of audience, and when we created content, we don't really know who is it for and where we should upload it. And I think this workshop really does condense it into like, who is your target audience primarily, and how are you telling these stories or this problem to people. In Brunei, the climate change problem is not really a problem yet, because everyone is taking their own pace, running at their own pace. So I want to join this summit to know how I should bring or rise this problem in Brunei Darussalam itself, because people learn about it, but people aren't aware about it yet. I hope to learn more from other countries, especially Malaysia and Indonesia, because we have the same target audience, I would say, or the same mindset, I would say, because their way of doing things are different from Brunei, and definitely Malaysia ways of doing things kind of relate to Brunei as well. So I definitely want to learn from Malaysia and Indonesia more.
Right. That's a wrap for day 2 here at the ACYCS in Langkawi. Tomorrow, some of the delegates will head to the ASEAN Ministerial Meeting on the Environment to present some of their climate action recommendations. So stay tuned for that and more only on Astro AWANI.
That report wraps up AWANI International for tonight. I'm Faye Kwan. Thank you for watching and good night.